Hello and welcome to the all-new Land Rover Defender First Edition Ingenium 2-litre 177 kilowatt twin turbocharged diesel automatic all-wheel drive. Yeah, that's its full name. This is quite possibly the most important car Land Rover's ever made. It's got to take on one of the most important nameplates, one of the most iconic nameplates in the world of motoring. It has to wear the Defender badge. But does it have to be the same as the old Defender? Let's find out. So we brought it out here to the beautiful Velgelegen 4x4 track. They very kindly agreed to let us play around here today. And I think I should state up front that I've been doing this job for a long time, and probably the one place where I feel out of my depth is 4x4ing. I don't have a lot of experience in this type of motoring. But I think that's a good thing, because if I was a 4x4 expert, would this car be very impressive with what I'm about to do with it? And I think what we're going to see today is how capable a Defender is at making an absolute noob good at 4x4ing. Does that make sense? That wasn't a grammarly perfect sentence, but you know what I mean. So we've picked a strip up here on the farm, and it looks very, very steep indeed. And because of all the rains we've been having, it's hugely rutted. There's massive troughs everywhere. I'm a little bit nervous, but let's see how this goes. So this is based on an existing Land Rover platform, and it's not a ladder frame chassis anymore, it's unibody. But they call this Platform X for extreme, and they reckon it is 3 times stiffer than anything else the competition can offer. Apparently they have built this thing to be extremely tough. It doesn't share a lot of components with any other Land Rovers. It is pretty much a bespoke 4x4. And the idea is that it should be able to pretty much drive over or through anything. Wow, that's a big hole. Now, something Land Rover is better at than just about anyone else out there is the software which manages the hardware. So 2 diffs in here, low range gearbox, 4-wheel drive obviously, but you've got Land Rover's terrain response, which you activate over there. Click that little vehicle button and now I get to choose. I've got grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, sand, rock crawl, wade, and configurable. I think I'm going to go with grass, gravel, snow. Do I want low traction launch control? No, thank you. I think I'll be okay, but I think I do want low range, so let's put it into neutral, hit the low button, it flashes for a bit, low range selected, and the car automatically pumps up the air suspension. Now, the Defender 110 comes standard with air suspension, so you can't have one just running on steel anymore. You got to have it bagged. Okay, let me activate my cameras. So it does have this very clever camera which helps you see underneath the bonnet of the car. And now I can see where to place the vehicle. I can actually see my tires and see under the car. How does it do that? That is very, very smart. So this Ingenium 2-litre twin turbocharged motor pushing out 177 kilowatts, a very healthy 430 newton meters of torque, but this is quite a heavy car, about 2.25 tons. But I must be honest, it's getting steeper and steeper out here, and it does not feel like we are struggling at all. Peak torque comes in at 1400 RPM, which is nice and low, and this ZF 8-speed gearbox doing a good job of making sure we stay in the power band. In fact, my revs are literally holding at about 1600 RPM. So it's keeping it right in that sweet spot. Oh, hold on everyone. Wow, that's beautiful. Holy moly. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how incredible that is. If you're watching from the overseas. This is an area called Stellenbosch outside Cape Town in South Africa. So we've got the old Defender out here today. Private owner very kindly agreed to bring it out for us, but he set up his car for overlanding, not for trails. He gave me a tour of it. It's incredible. It is literally a one-stop eat, sleep, camping, cooking machine. It's got like secret compartments full of like forks and salt and pepper and that sort of thing. So he wasn't too keen to follow me up here. He also has a big trip to Namibia planned as soon as the government opens the borders. But I don't blame him, and I think he would have made it up here, but my word, he would have been working hard in that car. Whereas look at me, I'm just, God, I look like I know what I'm doing. As a Defender driver, aren't you meant to have an arm out the window like this, with your elbow out? Isn't this like a rule? You can really hear what the car is up to, the way it's vectoring the torque. Quite cool to see what it's doing with the diffs as well over here. Also indicates when there's slip on a tire. Wow, this is getting really steep. Okay, we're at 20 degrees at the moment. 373 meters above sea level. Was that only 20 degrees? That was insane. That felt so steep. This car can drive up 45 degrees. Twice that. That sounds mental. Why would you do that voluntarily? That was about as steep as I'd be comfortable doing, to be honest. Any more than that, I think I'd start freaking out. Wow. That was absolutely effortless. Can you imagine how many iterations of this interior the Land Rover designers went through? But I must be honest, the more time I spend it, the more I think it's just about perfect. It's so uncluttered and modern and rugged at the same time. There's some interesting materials in here as well. All of this is a sort of wetsuit material, which kind of scuffs easily, but it also cleans easily. It also feels really nice. And it's here next to your knee as well. So when you're 4x4ing and you bang this, you don't, damage your leg. But all of these buttons, everything is massive, and Land Rover says it's designed so that you can operate everything with gloves on, which is a problem, you have in Britain there, because it's always freezing. But they have made a few concessions to the modern era. The instrument binnacle is all digital. You can't actually have that in analog. Obviously, you have this touchscreen infotainment system, and it is the latest generation of the Jaguar Land Rover system. And I must say, it is pretty good. It's easy to navigate, responds really well. It's got tons of data and information for you, all your 4x4 stuff. And they've worked hard on how the system integrates with your phone. So Android Auto, Apple CarPlay works pretty much seamlessly now. But I do love the sort of size and scale of this interior and all these unique design aspects. And there's so much space to put stuff. I mean, there's space behind here, there's tons of space down here, space here, the door pockets are absolutely massive. I've got more space on the right over here. This is a fridge. How cool is that? It's a freaking fridge. Or if you want, you can have a jump seat fitted here. And the thing I'm most impressed with, genuinely, are these seats. They are so unbelievably comfortable. And I think Defender owners will probably really appreciate that, because seats in the old Defenders were actually quite rubbish. But this is just about perfect. I want these in my lounge. Another very modern thing that you probably won't find in an old Defender is the rear view mirror. Not the rear view mirror, obviously, that's quite common, but if you flick it, it becomes a camera. And that is actually quite useful, because if you've packed your boot to the rafters and you can't see through it, well, then you can just flick to this, and on the shark fin on the roof, there's a little camera in there which transmits what it's seeing to the screen. I quite like that. You join me in the back seat now, where things get even more adventurous because look how much space there is. That is hilarious. So that's my driving position. I'm 5'9" or 1.74 meters tall, and there is precisely 1 hectare of knee room for me to use. I also like how they've designed the seats because I can sort of push my toes under there and it's at a bit of an angle. And that's actually really comfortable. You get your own aircon back here as well, and you get 6 charging points. 6, 4 down here, 2 12 volts, 2 USBs, and then 2 USBs up here, and a mount for something, which I assume is a mount for a TV. So you can spec your Defender with rear TVs if you like. The seats slide independently, and the backrest is independent as well. And that nice trim that I spoke about in the front, that sort of wetsuit thing, that continues into the back here as well. I'm just blown away by how much space there is here. And it feels so light and airy because you've got this gorgeous panoramic roof creating all the light and all the space from the top. And then these very unique windows, which is obviously a hark back to the old Defender above my head here. This is really impressive, and I think that if you're transporting adults, if you're transporting kids especially, this is probably going to make for a great family car. Long distance holiday trips, that sort of thing. Very nice. Right, the boot. There's quite a lot to talk about here. Get comfortable. So, opens this way. And inside here are a myriad of things which you can buy directly from Land Rover. They'll actually sell you up to 170 accessories for your car. But to make it easier, they've put them into packs. This one has the Adventure Pack fitted, which will cost you 36,000 Rand. And for your monies, you shall receive front mud flaps, rear mud flaps, a spare wheel cover, that thing over there, a bright rear scuff plate, portable rinse system, which I'll show you in a second, that's quite fun, integrated air compressor, very cool, exterior side mounted gear carrier, that's that thing over there on the side window, and a seat backpack. Let's start with the portable rinse thing. So that's this, it's a sort of garden hose arrangement, and you fill it up with water, create some pressure with this bicycle pump type thing, and then terrify your children. That's one of the coolest car accessories I've ever come across. You can even change the way you can terrify your children. So, if you need to wash your dog, your surfboard, your wetsuit, your mountain bike, your welly boots, this thing is actually pretty much perfect. Even has a mist function. Love that. That's actually really cool. I wonder how much that costs individually. Actually, it's part of the 36,000. The tire compressor is over here. You just set the pressure you're looking for, connect the hose, connect it to the relevant tire, and off it goes. Perfect for going duning and that sort of thing. You can increase and decrease your tire pressure as you like. Here's the backpack you get for your money. This is apparently perfect cabin size for international air travel. So you can just chuck some things in there and off you go, and then everyone knows that you own a Land Rover, or you just bought the Land Rover bag. The one thing I will say about this boot though, and we experienced it this morning, is that this is a very hard plastic, which is good because it's easy to keep clean, but our cooler box slid right out of here this morning and things broke. So keep that in mind. Underneath here are 2 extra seats, and the rear seats even get their own aircon and their own drinks holders. Those fold flat in 40, 20, 40. There's tons of legroom in the second row as well. The tow hook you have to pay extra for. It's about 14,000 Rand. If you're battling to get things in and out of the boot, can drop the air suspension. And, yes, proper 230 volt socket, 2-point socket. That's very cool. There's a 12 volt over there if you need it. Lots of tie down hooks over here. And then instead of a parcel shelf, you get a sort of parcel blanket, which I actually quite like. It feels pretty well made, pretty rugged. But wow, that's going to be a massive faff to fit in place. Just take my word for it, it goes over your things. Cool. There we go, the boot. You might be interested to know the pricing of the new Defender in South Africa, and it's not cheap. You can't get one for under R1,000,000. Starts at about 1.1, goes all the way up to 1.5 for the super fancy V6 petrol version. This one I'm in 1.255 million, and this particular one I have has got 70,000 rands worth of options. So we're at about 1.335 million, if that's my maths. And that is quite a lot of money for a car. But I don't think you can compare this Defender to the old Defender. I think the car you actually should compare this with is the new Discovery. And in that sense, I actually think this car is pretty good value if you were looking at a Discovery. I'm not trying to say R1,000,000 4x4 is cheap at all. It's expensive. But I'm not really sure why you'd buy a Discovery over something like this, unless you really wanted an on-road biased experience. So is this car going to appeal to die-hard Defender purists? I think the short answer is no. I think it's too expensive. I think that it's not the sort of car you want to cut holes in and, you know, fit one of those sort of like window boxes and all the rest of it. And you can do that. I mean, Land Rover sells thousands of accessories for this car. You pretty much do whatever you want to it. I think that in terms of off-road capability, this car is almost certainly more capable than the outgoing Defender. It's just that the hardware, and particularly the software, over the last, 50 years, has just improved dramatically. I think where the old Defender will always trump this new Defender is almost certainly an ease of repair. You absolutely cannot fix this thing on your own. There's just no way. You need like an army of IT engineers. This car has 85 ECUs. 85! And they're all talking to each other all the time. Imagine one of them breaks. You have to go in and find out which one's not talking to the other ones, sulking. Like in soap operas where the two characters have a fight and the one just stands at the other side of the room and turns around. That always used to make me laugh.
Did you know that we also sell really awesome car-themed merchandise? Check out our range of custom t-shirts and prints at our online store now. Simply click on the square box on your screen and we'll take you there, or the link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.